And I said, Tango, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but you're pretty bad at this. Okay. And I said that, but then I go, wow. I said, I didn't even like, I didn't like what I just said or whatever. But if you look at what my face does when I say the word wow, like my energy is towards Tango. You're pretty bad at this. And then she has me disengage Tango and look off into space and go, wow. Because she does this thing in my, like, how do you draw somebody's face to get across the fact that they are realizing they did not enjoy the feeling they just had, that they inflicted on themselves? And that's what she did in my face. You're pretty bad at this. Wow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she does. I'm like, I didn't even like what I just said.
Yeah.
And she did that with this one frame every 2 seconds.
Welcome back to the show. There's no telling where we'll go. So come and share a laugh on the Imp and Skizz podcast.
Today's podcast is we tossed around the idea of maybe discussing some of our favorite artists and how they've influenced us, why they're our favorites, and what is that they've done that has sort of compelled us and made us gravitate in their direction, and any type
all
of artist
genres, right?
Everything is on the table. Yeah,
like art, like drawing.
That's one.
Like movie making.
That's another one.
Music making.
That's one. Keep going.
Is there more?
Yeah, I was gonna make a joke, but I was like, I don't want to.
Acting?
I don't want to edit it, a bleep in post. Yeah, acting obviously is going to be one. Is that me or you?
It's my phone going off.
Okay, it's unreal.
It's just vibrating.
All right,
it's fine.
Just take it easy.
Didn't even get picked up in the mic.
I don't. Well, first of all, no, I should have just let it go, but it was so aggressive vibrating. I don't know how it went through your soft chair into the carpet up to. I felt it. I don't know what that is. So I kind of want to kick us off because I'm just going to start with, I think, who might be, I don't know, perhaps the artist that's been the most influential in my life from, I mean, maybe it might just be a music and a lyrical standpoint, but you know where I'm going with this, dude. Maynard James Keenan.
I knew we were going to start with Tool.
How could I not? I got to get it out of the way so I can focus.
You're obsessed.
You zip it.
You're obsessed.
Hey, if you're going to be obsessed about a group, that's the one to be obsessed about. You know I'm right. But Maynard... And what's funny is, dude, when I first started listening to Maynard, it was a buddy of mine that had got me into. I know I've talked about Tool before, but it wasn't something about his voice, especially on the old album Opiate, was just like his voice was so drawing to me, like it just pulled me in. It had this weird timbre to it, and he was a choir singer for his church when he was younger, and so he had a lot of reps in regards to what proper singing is and all that.
I did not know that about him.
Yeah, and so he's, I mean, he knows what he's doing. But lyrically, that is when I was just like, I don't understand how somebody can write something like this. Like the things that he writes are so impactful, they're so powerful, and there's so many different types of songs that he does that are so very moving that when I study the lyrics, I just get absolutely pulled in, completely consumed about what's going on. The song 46 and 2. Oh, if you have not heard this song, here's the deal. It's one of the greatest songs ever written. The song itself is that powerful. It really is. But there's also plenty of YouTube videos out there that they play the song and then they articulate what it's about, right? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, that song eluded me for the longest time. I was looking up like different Bible verses, like which book is he talking about? Is it chapter 46 verse 2? I didn't know when I was a kid. I was looking this up. And it was just, it's much, much deeper than I could have ever imagined. And so that being a microcosm example of why Maynard is so moving to me, because the things that he writes are so sick. And we've talked about it in another podcast, I believe, where as we did lyrics, and I talked about the fact that he has storylines, if you will, that span groups. You know, the song Judith, which is in one of his project, A Perfect Circle, is about his mom, and it's sort of the Goodfellas version of his optics of his mom. And then you go over to Wings for Marie after his mom had passed, and it's very soft. That's over in Tool now that he did Wings for Marie, and that would be the Godfather version of his optics of his mom. And it's so overwhelmingly powerful to me, to the point to where I found an incredible reaction video out there of this like vocal coach who listened to Wings for Marie, part 1 and 2, for the first time while reading through the lyrics, and she was crying by the end of it. Yeah, it's that powerful. Wow. It's that powerful. But that's what Maynard does to me. Like his writing is so powerful.
Yeah, there we go. Authors. poets.
Yes.
I'm like,
There-
there's definitely more artist types out there. What am I
you were
missing
thinking
here?
about the whole time.
Yes. Yeah. When you said, I mean, obviously reading the lyrics, and then I was like, okay, well, yeah, that's because he's much more, right? You want to talk about what he is as an artist.
Yeah.
He's a musician, obviously.
Yep.
Great singer. And then also he does like probably 90% plus of the writing, I'm assuming, for Tool. I don't know if you've looked into
lyrically.
that.
So
Lyrically, yeah.
So musically, this is something we're talking. I will not. I promise you, I will not
This
turn
whole
this in.
podcast
I
is
will
not
not
about
turn this
Tool,
into
right?
I will not
Okay.
turn this into a
Just
podcast.
checking.
I promise. Okay. So I will not.
Because I know you've wanted to do that for over a
I
year
could do
now.
a Tool podcast. I'm not going to because the demographic is so thin on that, but I won't do it.
I think you've at least convinced 2 people to check out Tool.
I don't think that he has a whole lot to do with the music. I could be wrong here, but my understanding is the way this is one of the reasons why their albums take so long to come out is because, and you and I were just talking to Scar about this yesterday, is that it's not like an album with a bunch of songs. Their album is a masterpiece. The songs are movements.
Yeah.
It makes much more sense if you listen to it in order, actually go through the process and listen to it in order, how it's supposed to be done, right? Well, he is like so good at what he does that I've just sort of like stepped all the way back in regards to just accepting his brilliance. I'm just going to you are what you are. But in regards to his tie to the music, my understanding is that the artists themselves, the rest of the band, Danny Carey and Justin, and oh my gosh, I feel like not a fan right now.
Wow.
I just said I call myself out. Shut up. So they make the music, they master the music, and my understanding is then Maynard gets it and he can just consume the music. All the music's written and done with no words.
So most of the time it's the other way around, isn't it?
Well,
lyrics are done and they figure out how to get the rest of the song to wrap around what the lyrics are doing.
Kind of.
And
I mean,
in Tool's case, they kind of go the opposite direction.
Yeah, but so for the record, I don't know for certain this is how it happens. This is just what I've gathered through just the very elusive interviews you can find with Maynard. They're not very easy to find, but he takes the music, does his thing. Now, when I was in a rock band myself, how did we do it, right? It was a little bit of a 50-50. You know what I mean? Sometimes it was like, hey, my singer would be like, I have this like cool, lines or whatever, and we would listen to it and maybe it would conjure up some sort of music. But also some of the time, and I would argue maybe most of the time, the guitarist would be like, dude, I got this great lick. And they would just do this lick. And then I'd go again. And then I would start drumming to it. And then the song would have a feel. And then our singer who would write would just start writing on the spot. You know what I mean? And then he would go home and polish it and whatever. So I don't know. I don't know if there's an exact recipe. And I don't know for certain that that's how Tool does it in regards to what I said earlier. But I think it is. I think that's how Tool does it. You know what I mean? But that's not about Tool, not about Tool. I'm talking about Maynard and his writing as an artist and also his artist as a person, because he is also he does wine too. He has his own vineyard. He's
not far from here, right?
Up in Jerome.
Like, I think there's like a restaurant you can go to up there too that like serves his wine and stuff.
Yeah. I've not been.
We should go check it out. We need to go on a little trip.
See if we can get him on the podcast.
I mean, we got like mobile podcasting equipment now, thanks to the podcast that we did in San Diego.
Yeah.
Like we could easily just wireless mic up, and grab a camera and
just
go on location.
Hey,
that's it.
I'm not gonna argue with that.
Imp and Skizz in the wild. Let's do that.
In the wild. Imp and Skizz on scene.
Although we'll hopefully have better audio. We'll make sure not to film in an echo chamber next time.
We'll be
better
suited for that.
That Verbo host should have known that a podcast was going to be recorded in that house, and maybe a couple curtains and some rugs or something would have been helpful.
Obviously people are going to rearrange your furniture and make a podcast.
Could you imagine? I'm way off subject now. Could you imagine if somehow that podcast gets to that person's person that we rented
that's what I said
from?
on the podcast.
Yeah.
I said, what if this guy's a viewer? He's gonna be like, what's going on with my house right now?
Dude, imagine that.
That'd be amazing.
I get a message one day on the Verbo app, and he's just like, so you guys recorded a podcast while you're in the house, huh? Rearranged all the furniture.
That's a fee.
Yeah, extra fee. Extra fee.
Podcast fee. But that's my Maynard take, and I could go on and on about Danny Carey, but I've already done that so much. I want to move on. I'll actually move away from Tool.
So we're talking about artists that we admire and stuff like that. But I mean, do we want to talk a bit about like what is it? What makes them them? what
Yeah.
makes them tick, you know?
Yeah.
And do we consider ourselves artists? I think we have no choice but to
We're a
accept
version of an
that.
artist.
Yeah,
We
definitely
are.
not up on that level.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think, but you know, like is there something different about the way Maynard ticks than somebody that's more in a like tech field or not so much in a creative
I think
space?
there is, and I think I found, like I said, one of the very rare elusive video interviews, and he's been more open to doing interviews in the last 10 years, but for the first several decades, he was just not his gig. And when people, when they would try to do an interview with him, he just wasn't into it. It's very private, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And sometimes interviewers would push more than they should, and he was very eccentric, like the stuff he would wear on stage and stuff. And
Right.
but one time somebody was just like, pushing him in regards to, why would you wear that? Would you? And then he gave a pretty articulate answer, but he was very like, it's hard to explain. He kind of left them with, I was pretty clear I didn't want to talk about that, but you pushed, so I'm going to give you a rude answer,
Yeah.
type thing. But when he was nice and calm and people asked him, how do you write what you write? Because there's a common theme in his writing where it's very, very deep. It's very, very humanistic. And there's always a good degree of darkness to it. Okay. But here's the deal. It sounds very chastising. It sounds like he's judging, and he's judging mankind, and he is very open that he is a part of mankind. So he basically says, when I think about the things about myself, the instincts about myself that I am ashamed of, or the instincts about myself that I don't agree with, or the darknesses that I can feel and think, and then I put it on you. I place it on the public, and then I sing about that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But he even talks about, it starts with me, like
Yeah.
the things that he feels to begin with.
Yeah, he's just I'm putting a microscope on
Yeah.
some of his inner thoughts and
Yeah.
feelings.
Yeah, he came out with Vicarious before TikTok was a thing. Okay, so like the digital age was happening, but
Yeah.
back in the day when you would, if you happened to catch a high-speed chase on TV, you didn't necessarily want anybody to be hurt, but you wanted to see a crash. This is just what it is. This is the human nature, dude.
Mhm.
You didn't want anybody to get hurt, but you wanted to see a crash. His entire song Vicarious is about that. I just want to see this stuff. I don't want to be in danger. The further away from me, the better. Much better you than me. I just want to see it.
Yeah.
And the video is so amazing because there's like these like parasites like attached to the eyes that are just like, it's this darkness that just gets us to, and that's the level that he operates on.
There's a common thread there. Like you said, he's eccentric, and you think about the stigma that artists in general get about being a little odd, off,
Oh, yeah.
a little bit, and immediately I think of like Tim Burton. you
Yeah.
know? Like you think about an artist. Tim Burton is a director and a writer, film writer. You think about all the things that he's produced, and they've all had not a little. I mean, he's got
Very
some
odd.
oddities,
Very
in,
odd,
in what
yeah.
he's done. What Nightmare Before Christmas was definitely an odd take, but he's done so many things. I mean, he started with
Edward Scissorhands.
yeah, exactly.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah,
like,
that's where I was gonna go next.
yeah.
Like this stuff has been going on for decades
Yeah.
now with Tim Burton, and it's like, okay, there's a genius there that he's obviously has, but does it take to be a little bit odd, a little bit off, to be that genius?
Right.
Because you talk about Maynard, and he's probably a little odd, little off, right? Tim Burton. We can go on and on, about how many artists out there. I mean, what was it? Which one of the one cut his ear off? Van Gogh?
Oh gosh, I don't even know. Was that Van Gogh? Probably.
Yeah. I just feel like throughout history, when we think about like great artists, there's always some other story or background about them being different.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not necessarily a bad thing.
No, not
I
a
mean, they
bad
brought
thing.
so much good to the world.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, well, if I consider myself an artist, how odd am I?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
are my oddities? I'm sure I have a lot,
Yeah.
but nothing to I don't think to the level of Tim Burton. You like Tim Burton's work, right?
I do like his work. His work has there's a constant theme of subtle, comforting darkness.
Yeah.
But it's still relatively unsettling. You know what I mean? And so I liked Edward Scissorhands, but when I was a kid, I didn't fully understand it, and I wouldn't even argue I understand it now. I need to probably watch it again. I'm a huge Johnny Depp fan. I like
Yeah.
Johnny Depp. And the movie was just odd. Beetlejuice was really, really good. You know what I mean? And also, I'm a big Michael Keaton fan. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm like kind of all over the map on that. But Beetlejuice was very good, but it was because it was so It was dark and whimsical all at once, you know. And how do you pull
that's a
that
good way
off?
to explain Tim Burton's vibe.
Yeah,
Dark and whimsical.
Yeah, how
That's
do you pull that
perfect.
off?
Yeah.
How do you do that? Like if I had to write something that was Tim Burton-esque, I would literally not know where to start. You know what I mean? Like it's such a different view. And you talk about, I think it was Van Gogh who cut his ear off, and you have to be a little odd. I think what ends up happening, and for the record, I don't necessarily think you have to be odd to be great. I think it's a common theme that if great, then you're likely odd, right? I don't think Maynard's that odd. When you see interviews with him, you realize he's extremely cerebral. He's very, very with it. You know what I mean? He's very clean-minded.
You ever imagine yourself just like at a dinner party, you know, where you're just like at a table having dinner and like trying to have like regular conversations
with Maynard?
And then
I do.
I would probably have to see myself out. I wouldn't be able to.
Are you ready for this? This is no joke. I'm not somebody who can be starstruck. I just can't. I love, like, if I got to hang out with Danny Carey, that'd be cool. He's my favorite drummer in the world. That'd be cool. Even like Tom Hanks, it might be a little bit because he's like my favorite actor of all time. But something about Maynard, I think it's because I've heard a lot of things that he's kind of an a-hole, and I don't necessarily think he is. I think he has that persona when he just doesn't want a lot of people around him. I don't know, obviously, but I have this weird that's probably the only time I'd be starstruck. If I was at dinner with Maynard, I think it would be the only time that all I would be thinking about is what he's thinking is, this guy's not very interesting. That is the only, like, I would be petrified that he'd be like, you're just not interested.
Well, I feel like that's the whole world to him. Is you know what I mean?
You might be right.
Like he's just on a different plane, you know?
Yeah, he is, dude. He really is. And now it turned into a Maynard podcast. But I think also to add to what you're saying, that some of the greatest artists have the capacity to be a little odd. I think they see the world through a filter that we don't necessarily understand. And I think that what that ends up doing is opening up their reality to realities that are very foreign to us. Mm-hmm. And they just see things in a very different way. And I think that's good. I think it's good to always get more and more examples of what the human mind can do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I always try to imagine, like, how did they come up with this stuff? Was it just like a weird dream that they had? Were they on drugs? You know what I mean? Like what made their mind go in that direction that I could never see my mind going? But I have woken up from dreams before going, that was a really weird dream, but also would make a pretty cool movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you ever have that happen?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
And they just like made it, they just took it, they went the full distance with it, I bet. Tim Burton wakes up and is like, whoa, that was odd. Yep, we're making that into a movie.
Yeah.
No. Beetlejuice.
I know, but Beetlejuice is so weird. I mean, it's so weird that I don't even know. Was it a dream? Was it drugs? Was it a dream that he had while he was on drugs? Like, I mean, what is this?
That's the only real explanation.
Yeah,
a combination of all of it.
It's so weird, but I like it. All right, you go, because I have more I want to talk about.
Well, I mean, when I think of artists, I like all movies a lot. I watch a lot of movies, and one director comes to mind because he's so hit or miss. And I think you know what name I'm going to say.
You do M. Night?
M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
So hit or miss that it's almost like if you don't read any of the reviews or anything and you go to it into one of his movies, it's like opening a pack of basketball cards or baseball cards, right? You know you're either going to be let down or you're going to be super excited because you got somebody's rookie card you were excited for or whatever. Yeah. And that's what going to an M. Night Shyamalan movie is like. Yep. You walk in and you're just like, God, I hope this is going to be good.
Yeah.
You know, I hope it's going to be the next Signs, you know, or something to that nature. And then it's not, you know what I mean? Like, what was oh man, I can't even remember. He's done so many now. There was one where it was like, they were stranded on a beach and everybody was like aging ultra quick. Have you seen that
I have not seen that one, but I know what you're talking about.
It wasn't that good. It's like, oh man, you kind of get let down.
Yeah, you know? I didn't see it.
But he's done so many great movies.
He does. Well, you use the phrase he's so hit or miss, and the type of people that have sort of the label of being really hit or miss are the people that do something more than anybody else, and they swing. You know, another one, like Babe Ruth is one of the most famous baseball players to ever live because of his amount of home runs. if I'm not mistaken, he also was way up there in strikeouts.
No, well, maybe not the highest strikeout, right?
Not the highest, but he was like way up there because he
Yeah.
swings, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's what M. Night does. And we've talked about this before, I'm sure, but when Signs came out, Signs really, really hit. That was a hit for me.
Yeah.
And also weird things hit me. Okay. I can get on board with that. Weird things hit me, but Signs hit me something fierce, and specifically because of his ability to do so much with nothing. And it was that, and I always go back to it, but that scene with Joaquin Phoenix where they were upstairs and they thought the alien was in the house downstairs, and he goes downstairs with a bat, and the camera's on a tripod pointing down the stairs. We've definitely talked about this on the podcast. Pointing down the stairs, there's no music, there's no Foley arts, there is no dialogue. It is just a static shot of Joaquin Phoenix walking down the stairs and then disappearing off, and the camera never moves. All you're looking at is stairs, and it's petrifying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that, to me, that's direction genius. It means everything you did leading up into that point, you crushed it. It also means from an acting standpoint, they absolutely crushed it. You know what I mean? It means whoever your lighting is, whoever's in charge of lighting, you crushed it.
Yeah,
they
I'm
nailed
sure
it.
he had his hand in all of that.
Yeah.
Director,
yeah.
you know?
Of
Like,
course, you're in charge. Yeah.
He chose that camera angle. He chose to have
Absolutely.
that silence. He chose the lighting.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Even the editor was like, so M. Night, what do you want here? You want some like spooky music? You want to go, ooh? He's like, no, I don't want anything. What do you want? You want some creaking noises? No, nothing. What do you want?
Yeah.
Dude, you can do a still frame picture. I don't care. I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And it was just, oh, dude, it was so good.
So to me, what he represents is something that we talked about with Mumbo. Remember when we had Mumbo on?
Mhm.
And he said that you need to lean into silly ideas.
Yeah.
Right?
You just go all the way.
I feel like that's what he does, is like he has a crazy idea and he leans all the way into it. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, you know, and he has to be okay with that. We actually just watched a movie, I forget the name of it, where it was his daughter directing. M. Night Shyamalan's daughter directed a movie that
Really?
me and my wife just watched, and I can't for the life of me remember the name of it. But we were like pretty impressed. Like,
Really?
Yeah, so now he's getting his family into it too. Which
That's
is
pretty cool.
But
That is cool.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good actually.
Didn't he do? I might be mistaken here, but didn't M. Night Shyamalan do The Sixth Sense?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna mention that one.
It's definitely his
And,
style.
I mean, if I was pressed to like start naming all the movies he's done, I would get a handful and be done.
Yeah.
I think The Happening.
yes,
Right. The
yeah.
Happening that one. Woo, woo, that was a skin crawler one. Did you not like The Happening?
All right, here's the deal with The Happening, in my opinion. Conceptually, I thought the idea was brilliant. I really, really did. A lot of people think like the trees are attacking people. It's like, why is that so far fetched? You know what I mean? Like, why is that so? It's not uncommon for plants to have defense mechanisms. Have you heard of a thorn? You know what I mean? Like this is normal, right? And I don't think it's that far fetched for the trees to not realize, but for them to react to the fact that there's clearly a virus on the planet known as mankind, and we got to do something about it. I don't think that's that far. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yes, it's far fetched, but I think the idea itself is sound enough that it was definitely warranted some traction. Now, I don't think it was necessary for it to be as grotesque as it was. I think the concept itself was frightening enough. It didn't have to be so gross.
Oh, you're talking about when they would actually get hit with it and
when they get hit and they would
die on
like
camera?
that woman smashing her face into the glass. I'm like,
Right.
that's not necessary. The story's good enough.
Right.
And then I also
they went for the gore factor on that one, which is not necessarily. You're right. Like M. Night wasn't known for.
he
gore.
doesn't have to be like
It's
that.
I think he was just trying something new. You
I
know?
think he was.
Like,
Or somebody got in his ear or something. I have no idea. But and
Gore
then
is
also,
in.
and keep in mind, I really like I like Mark Wahlberg a lot, and I just did not like
He
his.
didn't fit in that role.
He didn't. It didn't work.
Yeah.
And it was. If I'm not mistaken, he did the same thing in that he did in Lone Survivor, where for some reason he was just always out of breath for no reason. Like always out of breath. There was no reason to be out of breath.
Maybe
he
had
did
asthma.
No.
Part of his
He did it.
character
It was
lore.
like an acting technique that he was leaning into. That I'm guessing here, but like in Lone Survivor, there was a part where he was asleep or knocked out or whatever, and then he was asleep for like hours, and then they woke him up, and he was instantly out of breath. It's like, dude, it's a bad acting technique. Stop being out of breath. So it was. I think he did that in The Happening too. But I'm not. I like Mark Wahlberg, so I'm not ripping on him. But
The
I
actress
think
in that I really like. It's what's her name from The New Girl?
Zoe Deschanel.
Yeah,
Was she in The Happening?
I think so. Right?
Boy, it's been a long time since I've
I
seen
think she
it.
was the other. I'm pretty sure. See, now I want to watch it again. I'm pretty sure it was her.
She's really cute.
She's awesome. Yeah, she's awesome.
She's cute.
She's
a
awesome
cutie.
in Elf.
Yeah. She was awesome in Yes Man. I don't know if you've
Man.
seen that. Speaking of Yes Man, Jim Carrey. Another one of
You
my
want to
favorite
talk about
artists.
artists? And we talk about comedians. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was another genre I guess we didn't hit on, right? That fits
Comedy?
and yeah, comedy.
Comedy will do
That's
it.
an art.
Yeah.
You know? Oh gosh, we could go on comedy forever. There's so many.
There's so many,
comedians
dude.
That I mean, I hold up on a pedestal, but Jim Carrey is one of them. My wife actually does not like Jim Carrey.
A lot of people
She
don't.
does not like his humor.
Yeah.
Just a little too much, I think.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
The irony is that I wasn't a huge fan of his stand-up. I didn't think that his stand-up was really that funny, but him and the same way I feel about Chris Tucker, who I think is one of the funniest people to ever walk the planet. I wasn't that into his stand-up, but him in any sort of movie role, it was just aces. If somebody else was writing it, he was executing to like.
Was that a play on words? Ace Ventura?
No, it wasn't. But Jim Carrey was one that was very influential to me, no question. Jerry Seinfeld is I love everything about his stand-up. I think he's, from a stand-up standpoint, I think Jerry Seinfeld is the cream of the crop. How deep down the rabbit hole of comedy can we go? We don't have enough time.
I mean,
for that.
yeah. So there's a movie that's coming out, and I don't know, like if it's mainstream or if it's just like a film festival type thing. It's all about Saturday Night Live.
Ooh,
Yeah. So there's like a 50-year. It's been 50 years since Saturday Night Live started.
Wow.
And so there's like a movie to celebrate that, and they're like kind of going through and showing how chaotic it was and all that stuff, and Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase and all the old school comedians. But I mean, obviously the golden age was Mike Myers and David Spade, and obviously Chris Farley, as much as it hurts to
I would
to
argue
bring up
the
Chris
golden
Farley.
years. Well, let me think. That's.
I mean, maybe that's our
that's our golden years.
I mean, I'm sure Saturday Night Live has had its stages for each
Sure.
generation.
Well, I mean, Steve
right?
Martin Short,
Right.
like these are some of the
To
greats as
me,
well.
that
But go
was
before them,
before-
it was Belushi before them.
Yeah.
Like it keeps everybody. A lot of people placed their paver in the road that paved the way for what we
Yeah.
have today.
It was amazing to see how many comedians from Saturday Night Live went on to be like big mainstream
Yeah.
actors in big movies and
Yeah.
stuff.
Saturday Night Live was like a trampoline. That's how you popped
Exactly.
into your career.
Yeah,
Yeah.
insane. So that's something I want to see. Actually, I'm really interested in Saturday
That
Night
does
Live.
sound cool.
I watched a documentary not too long ago about like Saturday Night Live, and it was like super interesting to see all the stuff that happens behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And it's got some dark side too. You know,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that industry in general is always going to have
Oh,
some
yes.
darkness to it. But you know, just talk about the drug addictions and things like that they go through, and that's another thing. It's like you see a lot of that. We were talking about artists and having some quirks about them. You see a lot of that too, addiction being a thing
Yeah.
among artists. And I don't know if that's just a stigma or because we've seen it and they've been in the spotlight. Whenever you have people in a spotlight, that kind of stuff is going to get magnified more than anything else. So you don't know if that's just normal or if it's more because there's so much pressure on an artist to produce, to create. You always
I've
have a
wondered
bit of
that
stress,
myself.
maybe.
I honestly, if I had to guess, and I obviously don't know, I clearly don't have the answer here. But if I had to guess, because it is common for
Yeah.
drugs to work their way into the lives of these artists, and we don't want to go. I mean, this could be a podcast in itself, but I think it's because their schedules are just that crazy that sometimes it takes a little bit extra just to stay awake and do what they need to do. And I'm thinking more along the lines of like artists who tour and they do like just show after show. You go to one of their shows, if you sit up high enough at a concert, you'll see on the stage is written down in front of the artist what city they're in because they don't even know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't even know where they're at because they're just constantly zipping around and doing
What's
stuff.
going on? New York.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
Like
Yeah.
Tennessee.
That's what they got to do because
Oh,
so
man.
to that end, unless they are like a bill of health all the time, I think that some of them turn to drugs to keep going, and that
Or
affected.
maybe they thought it was going to give them an edge, like
Maybe
you're
they thought it'd
thinking
give them an
about
edge,
comedians
or it was helping them deal with some of their own demons, and I don't know. I also think, gosh, boy, I'm speculating a lot here, but I think a lot of artists are very self-loathing just by nature. I think that they deal with a lot of demons and depression, and everything that you see about them is just their avatar.
I think it's important to remind people that you said a lot, right? We're not categorizing every,
Of course, of course.
just because Yeah. I just want to make sure that wasn't missed.
No, it's not. It's not every one of them.
Yeah.
I'm saying, and I'm also being very clear. I'm speculating here. I don't know any of this for certain. It's just what my instincts are telling me is you see, like Robin Williams, God rest him, right? How does somebody who seemed like his entire vessel was put on this planet to make others smile, how can he do what he did and take his own life? Well, there was not only demons in there, but they were there for a long time, and that means that his mind was very, very loud inside his skull, and on the outside was nothing but a smile.
Yeah,
I
imagine he was giving all of himself to others, so that there was nothing left for him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
that's obviously we're no psychiatrists.
No.
We weren't best friends with Robin Williams either. We're always on the outside looking in. There's always way more to these stories than we'll ever know. So it's hard to even speculate sometimes. But yeah, I mean, you see that a lot with artists, and so it makes you wonder. Is there something to that? They get the stigmas for being a little off. They get stigmas for getting into addictive things and having demons and stuff like that. It's just like, well, maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're just giving all of themselves away, and there's not a lot left, and that's how they cope. Who knows?
I think that's a version of it. I also think that they are getting exhausted from playing an avatar. I think that they start to feel like a fraud. I think that they are aware that the part of them that everybody loves and enjoys is not even who they are. And so they realize the real me's not good enough. You know what I mean? I got to keep creating. I got to put on this skin and be this fake person who I've created, because that's what people fell in love with. If they really knew who I was, they would not have the same disposition.
Yeah,
that's
scary,
but I'm guessing here. You want to know how arrogant I am, dude? So I would say my biggest, and we've talked about this before, but Matthew Perry, I still have not had a real conversation about this, but he might be the most influential artist in my entire life. I just model so much of my comedy.
You see
off
a lot
of
of Matthew Perry. I've been watching. Me and my wife have been binge watching Friends.
I'm so happy you're doing that.
Or getting the end of season 5, so we're more than halfway through now. And the more and more I watch and I see Matthew Perry, I see how many things you've picked up from his delivery and quotes and dialogue and every just inflection,
just timing,
tons
his
of stuff,
cadence, everything. Because he was like, to me, he was the funniest person in the world, and was not just Chandler. His role in The Whole 9 Yards, are you kidding me? It is so funny in the movie The Whole 9 Yards. He is just so, everything he does. He was in the movie with Selma Hayek. I forget the name of it, but he had a brief showing in 17 again, and that was hilarious. Like, he is just good in everything that he does. And he's, I don't know. I really, really like him. That one, and my arrogance is so strong on this one, where I'm like, if I got to be in his life, if I had the good graces of being in his life, this would not have happened, which is so dumb to think. You know what I mean? It's so idiotic to think, but his addiction had such a hold on him that unfortunately it crossed paths with was seemingly a bunch of people who were pretty evil, and they took advantage of the situation. All of this is still being worked out. Nobody knows what the actual story is, so I'm not saying anything. What I am saying is
news surface, though, that things could be a certain way, with that, in regards to that, like what you're talking about, like the doctors and stuff. We're just, we'll see how things turn out.
Yeah,
it's now being surfaced. So, but it's infuriating.
Absolutely.
That, and you were saying like, oh, if I was in his life, maybe I could have.
Yeah, I know. I'm so arrogant, dude.
I'm pretty sure, like the Friends cast was close outside of filming, right? So, like, how do they feel? Like they could have stopped him? Obviously, they probably are hurting.
Of course they are. They've got to be.
There's something more they could have done.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine the grief.
I hope that none of them are none of them feel some sort of responsibility. I'm hoping that that's not. I mean, at the end of the day, this was on Matt. You know what I mean? This is on Matt. He was the one that had the addiction. He owned the addiction, and it's very unfortunate that there's other people that came and took advantage of that. I get it, but you're right. The rest of the cast of Friends probably feels a certain responsibility to him, because when you hear the way they speak about him, he's like the sweetest. He was the nicest guy. He was very caring, and to me, dude. I think my point with Matthew Perry, where he became one of my favorites, was when I saw him punked on Ashton Kutcher's Punk'd. Remember? Now
I remember that show. I don't remember him being on it.
Yeah, I was never a huge fan of that show because it was taking some liberties, like showing people in very vulnerable states that they didn't agree to. And so he did some where like he would punk somebody and then you would see a kind of a bad side of them. Well, you weren't seeing a bad side of them. You were seeing a human side of them. He did this to Zach Braff, right? Well, I like Zach Braff a lot. And he plays JD on Scrubs. And that's something like they punked him where they had a kid spray paint his car. And it was, I don't fully understand what it was, but Zach Braff is barreling into this kid. Like he's like, there's a cop right there. He's like, I saw you spray paint my car. And he's like, oh, it seems like he's over the top. He's not over the top. He's being, in my opinion, very, very kind about it. He's being not Zach Braff, the goofy-go-lucky guy that he's sold to the public, but he's being human because he happens to be a human. And now he looks to some people who are having a culture shock are like, oh, it looks like he's kind of a jerk. No, he's not. He's just a person, and he didn't ask to be here. And I don't have a problem with Ashton Kutcher, but this always rubbed me wrong. So he does one to Matthew Perry, and I was like, wow. I don't like that he did this to Matthew Perry because I think 99 out of 100 people would have folded in this situation, but Matthew Perry didn't, where Perry went shopping for a car. Perry's the target. He's the mark. And everybody else is in on it, including obviously Perry's friend who took him. He's like, yeah, you wanted this. It was like a really nice like Bugatti or something. I have no idea. He takes him into a warehouse and Perry's like, what is this? He's like, you wanted to shop for a car? He's like, this is not like a professional place. Is this like a chop shop? He's like, no, dude. And Perry's like, this doesn't look legit, dude. He's like, dude, it's legit. You're not asking for a normal car. It's not gonna be a normal dealership. And he's just like, doesn't really understand. And so he's like looking around and Perry's just like, I don't know. He's like, he's like, dude, Maddie, it's completely legit. It just, there's nothing to be worried about, you know? And so he's like shopping for cars, looking around, a lot of nice, really high sports cars there, high-end sports cars. And then it happens. SWAT team comes smashing in the windows, all four sides. It was really actually impressive execution. And there's a big old, like, it's a, what do they call it when they swarm, they SWAT you? It's like a yeah, it's like a raid, giant raid. Yeah. And one of the people, one of the actors who's on SWAT pulls Perry aside and he's like, I know who you are. And he's like, you need to understand what this means for you, you know? And he's just like, this is the end of your career if this goes the distance, but it doesn't have to be that way. And Matthew Perry's like, I had no idea. I thought this was like a normal gig or whatever. And he's like, well, who brought you here? He's like, what's that matter? You know what I mean? And he's like, if you sell out your friend that he knew that this was non-legit, we can put everything on him and you can have your career. Matt, don't blow your... And I'm like, shame on Ashton Kutcher for this. Now, for the record, I'm probably butchering exactly what the words were because I saw this like 15 years ago, but it was like something, it was clearly along these lines. Matthew was given a position to sell out his buddy and then he would be safe. And he's like, he goes, but if you don't give us his name and you do not go with the story that he knew what this was, this is it for you. And Matthew Perry's like, well, I guess you got to do what you got to do. And I'm like, whoa. I remember it was like, dude, that's character. Mm-hmm. That's Stones. And to me, I was like, he found out who he really was. And then, you know, Ashton Kutcher comes out, oh, you've been punked. Woo. And Perry's like, you son of a, you know what I mean? I'm like, dude, like that could have been really, really, really bad for him. If he acted like a human, he would have been chastised for being human.
Yeah, and it could have affected his actual relationship with his friend there.
Oh, yeah.
His friend would have been like, what the heck, dude? Don't mean that much to you.
So it was crazy. Wow. And I may have butchered the story, but it was definitely something along those lines to where he had an opportunity to take the easy road, but he took the high road instead. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, that's good character. There's a book, you know, Matthew Perry wrote a self-biography before he passed that my wife read, and she has very high regards for him. Yeah. You know, that's part of the reason, probably the main reason why we're binging Friends is because she got done with that book and then she wanted to follow everything he had talked about, because he had talked about what happened to him through the process of filming Friends, all the seasons, his ups and downs with the addiction and stuff. And she wanted to watch that happen, you know, through binge watching, and you can see it. You can see it. You know, it's pretty tragic. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, but he's fantastic. He was a fantastic artist.
Yeah,
tragedy, for sure. All right, let's see. What other art genres can we dip into?
Make me happy because I'm sad.
Yeah, no, we got into dark space. It all started when I mentioned Tim Burton, I think.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Timmy.
Tim just took us down a rabbit hole there. Let's see. I mean, we talked a little bit about music. We talked a little bit about film. Mm-hmm. Talked a little bit about comedy. you know, when it comes to like art, you know, like something like this that people draw, you know, I don't think of like mainstream art too much. I think about our smaller, you know, art communities that we have that are more related to what you and I do, and how impressed I am. I pointed to this because Apple, you know, Bstruda did amazing job on this, so much so that I had to have it printed and put on my shelf. And so, like, I don't know about you, but I have an actual, like, I follow a hashtag on Twitter that is literally like hermit fan art or something like that. Like, I follow the tags that I know that these artists are posting to, because I want to see everything they do. I'm always just in awe by what they come up with and how they perceive our characters or any lore that we've created. I think I showed one to you the other day. It was on Reddit. And I showed you a picture of somebody on Reddit posted a bunch of you and your popo and all that stuff. Yeah. And it's like, I love that stuff.
It's cool.
I love the fan art that comes out, but more so because somebody came up to us at TwitchCon, and instead of wanting our autograph, wanted us to make a doodle. And I tried to draw like me, like a person, and it was the worst thing ever. It looked like one of your Guess the Builds where your guys' elbows are going the wrong way.
Come on, man.
And so I when I see people that are good at this, I'm always just in awe, because it's a talent I have zero skill in.
Me too.
And so like that always sticks out. And it's not just Apple Bstruda. It's like there's so many talented ones out there. I know that you're big. Do you collect like the fan art that comes your way? Do you ever like, do you have a folder on your computer that you like save it all to?
You know, I started to, and all right, I don't know, how am I supposed to answer this? I started to, and because I thought it was really super cool, but then it legitimately got to a point where it was just like, it's so much, which is a really weird thing to say, because like, oh, I'm just so much fan art. That's not what I'm getting at. I'm saying it got to a point to where I would blink, and I missed several more that came across Twitter or whatever. And I do see a lot of them. And here's what's crazy is every once in a while, I will come across one that's like a couple years old, and I'd never seen it. And I'm like, wow, look what I almost missed here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that stuff happens.
There's so much out there. It's so cool. I love seeing it, just because like people are so talented, and there's like a huge diversity in the way that
their styles.
Yeah, the styles.
Yep.
And I love to see that, you know, just the differences. And obviously this style caught my eye, you know, but there's so many different ways, and people portray us too based off of like lore, you know, like I don't know if you notice, like usually I'll have like, I think they're playing off of like Imp, right? Being more of like a demonic kind of figure. And so I'll have like the horns. And then I think they draw you like kind of like an angel type thing, because it's like the yin yang of the Imp&Skizz.
I've read that. And that actually, because I always wondered too, the Halo stuff. I'm like, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
And so I think I did see what you saw.
It's just interesting because like that they kind of like came up on that on their own. You know what I mean? Like somebody had this idea of like, oh, imp, demonic, horns. Okay, that would make Skizz the yin yang, you know, and they came up with the Halo, and then you see that, and then all of a sudden it becomes a thing that we see over and over again. And it's like, oh, that all started just because one artist out there just had that click in their head. And it's like, that's really cool.
And it's funny because the way we conduct ourselves would very much imply the opposite. You know what I mean? I'm always the one that's causing havoc and
chaotic. Yep. And I'm always trying to keep you from destroying everyone's lives.
It's true. Well, and you talked about the different types of styles of artists out there, and it reminds me of one of my favorite episodes of Bob's Burgers, where they had many different artists submit.
Oh, you told me about this. And so every like segment
every segment, they'd be like in the kitchen, and there'd be a whole scene. They're like, well, let's go to the back room. They go there, and when they walk through the door, it was an entirely different artist style. And they did that for the whole episode. And it was just so amazing to me, because people just have a different way of drawing. They just like that kind of. Did you, when we were at TwitchCon, there was somebody who they wanted pictures and stuff, but they also said, I have this booklet here, and I want you to draw a picture of me. I'm like, you don't want me to do that, dude.
That's what I was talking about. I tried to draw
that's what you were talking about. Okay,
yeah. It was terrible. I drew the worst thing ever.
Oh, no, you didn't. No, maybe second worst. And I tried. I tried, and it was so bad. What I also did was I made the mistake of flipping to pearls, and I'm done with this life. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It took her like 12 seconds, and it was so good.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I just don't understand it, to the point where I was looking at it. I'm like, she literally has like the curvature of the shoulders that makes this look so organic. And she would probably be like, Skizz, this is junk. But it was not, dude. It was so good. What is that, Impulse? How come we can't
what
do
she
that?
does. It's who she is. She's an artist in every sense of the word.
But what part of the brain
Multifaceted.
is just more on board with doing this? Because yes, it's something you can work on. I understand that. But you remember being in like kindergarten, first grade, and you just had that friend who could draw. You're like, how did
Yeah.
you do that?
Yeah.
They can just.
Well, we talked about that, the mind's eye and being able to, it takes skill. Like obviously it was a learned thing, but it started with what she sees in her head, and she's able to figure out how to translate that to
that
paper.
part. Translate it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the guy right now. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to draw you. I don't need to know, like, picture my head. I'm looking at you. It's right there. That's what I want to. And I go to do it, and it's just the worst. And I'm like, why is that's what I want this to look like? You know what I mean? And I go to do it, and it's the worst.
Think about Minecraft. Like
I don't want to.
It takes reps, right?
Yeah.
It takes reps. Like you look at the what I did in season 3 versus what I'm doing now. It's because of reps.
Sure, I'm sure that there's room for growth and else, but I just don't. I don't think
lots of reps. I'm sure she's drawn lots of things.
There you go. There's an artist pearl. We might as well just put her on the table as an incredible artist.
Yeah,
she
absolutely.
just is. Yeah,
we're surrounded by them. That's why we have imposter syndrome. We're surrounded by some of the most talented people ever, and then we open Twitter and there's stuff like the fan art that we see.
It's not even syndrome. It's just imposter.
And then somebody takes us saying, "You want to bop it up," and creates the most amazing song ever that we had an entire crowd singing to at the meet and greet. Talk about Ellie Beatmaker, and
baby.
how amazing his remixes are. That he's done so many Hermitcraft related remixes that are just like amazing. His Hermit Gang remix is the one I play over the original because I think his sounds better. Sorry, but I think his remix sounds better than the original. And he's done so many great things. I love that. Like that's actually something I feel like I could learn to do if given enough time, because musically, I think I do have some skill in the music world, right? Because we do come from a bit of a music background, but I couldn't do what Ellie does, unless I had the next. I need to be like Groundhog Day, Bill Murray, where you're going to live the same day over and over again, so that I can just okay, well now I'm going to learn to remix music.
Yeah,
and maybe someday I'll have half the talent Ellie does. His stuff is fantastic, and then you think about like Jono, Ren's brother, who's able to create stuff from the ground up. I mean, just out of his head comes up with, dude, he turned your fart into the most cool, amazing song ever. Like
I didn't fart. I went with my face, and it was in post. And that's all he did was just take that and then take a bunch of little sound bites from me screaming and stuff like that, and made an incredible song out of it.
I really like because that in itself, we when you say fan art, like you think of the digital and you think of that kind of art, but really that is a fan art, like what Jono's doing and what Ellie's doing with the music. That's also fan art. They're taking stuff from the fandom and creating something out of it.
Yeah,
like your fart song, dude. I couldn't get through. Like, Jono's he's a character. He's if you ever watch his stream, you'll see he's a bit of a character. And he's great. But the song started with just your farting, and I was like, I don't know about this one, and I stopped. Because I was like in public, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm trying, what's this fart song? And it start playing, and I see everybody looking at me, and I'm like, okay, never mind. I'll check that out later. But then when I finally like let it play for a little bit, I was like, dang.
No, it drops.
This thing is amazing.
It's a banger. He did a really good job.
Yeah.
It's an absolute banger.
Any other fan art that stuck out to you?
I'm gonna Puka, dude. We can't go far without saying Puka.
Yeah, he's got a brilliant mind. He's another one.
As an animator. Yeah.
When you see like the stuff he comes up with, a lot of times, like we wouldn't give him a lot of direction, and I think we should right now plug the animated shorts. We're mentioning Puka, but also the animated shorts is something you and I did a long time ago that didn't get a ton of visibility, and I think are timeless pieces of work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When it comes to content that we put on the internet, sometimes you wonder like what's gonna stand the test of time and what's not. I feel like those animated shorts, even though they are Minecraft, I feel like those belong in a almost timeless category because of I think their format is something that could be enjoyed for years to come. And you wrote the script and we did the voice acting, but we didn't give Puka a ton of direction when it came to how to animate it. We gave him some direction.
Gave him
obviously,
some.
But he had a lot. He had a lot of leeway to figure out
a
how
lot of
he
leeway.
wanted to
Right.
what he wanted to add and stuff to the animation, and the stuff he came up with. I'm just like, wow, how does he do that? How does he come up with this stuff? It's just brilliant.
He was able to pull off so many nuances that it always turned out better than I could have imagined, right? So in fact, you know what I came across the other day? I put together my new computer and I was going through old files and stuff. I came across a PowerPoint presentation that I created for Puka that was just explaining the intro. I said, I want, this to come down here, that I want a boom sound here. And then here comes Imp. And I had a yellow rectangle for you. I had it come in on like this and then lean in. And then I had mine come in and I said, I want my guy to be leaning up against these words or whatever. He creates and that was just the intro to the animations.
Mhm.
And I was like, it's not like you kind of did what I wanted. That's exactly what I was going for. And I have no idea how you did this. And it was just so amazing. And we started to learn early on, give this cat freedom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's and it was like, dude, just do your thing. And for a while there, he was actually editing our Naked and Scared stuff. And I was like, if you want to add your own like little bits in there, that's all
And
we
he
do,
did.
man.
He added some really
He would
cool,
add some little things in there,
Yeah.
and they were really good. But when we would do the very first animation we did, this was when we were just trying, I think, because I pitched it to you. I said, I'd like for us to do an animation. I'll write it and we'll do some voice acting and we'll have Puka do it. I have no idea what this looks like. I don't know what kind of lift this is. I have no idea.
Yeah.
So the first one was called Inventions, and it was quite literally an animated short. It was very short, but it was good.
Mhm.
It was really good. And seeing what Puka did in that, and he's grown much since then too, I remember being like, okay, that was way better than I thought it was going to be, and there's something to this. So then I wrote Work Hard, Play Hard, and that was, wait, what was next? No.
I feel like
No,
Work
The
Hard, Play
Hunt.
Hard. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hunt was
then I
next.
wrote The Hunt.
Yeah.
And The Hunt, to me, was my favorite one. It was the exact perfect everything, like length, interest level, like all of it. It was perfect. Then I wrote Work Hard, Play Hard, and when I sent it to him, I said, Puka, this is a heavy lift. This is a big one.
Mhm.
And he did what he needed to do, and it was awesome. And there was some, just like you said, not a whole lot of direction was needed there. Every once in a while, it needed to happen because it was like, in order for this to work out contextually, this was what needs to happen. I need the audience to see the trident strike the field behind me, but it needs to just be a seed in their mind so that later when there's a fire, it's a kind of bit of an Easter egg. Oh, I saw that earlier, stuff like that. And so he was really good at that type of stuff. But the bottom line was give him freedom because he's an artist. He knows what he's doing. Let him cook. And that one was good, but it was too long. That was not a short anymore. That one was way too long. But I was calibrating. The pendulum was swinging, and we just haven't done one since.
Yeah. They're so good. They're so good.
We'll put links in the description of this.
Yes, yeah. Please go watch those because I think if you haven't seen them, you're gonna enjoy them. And a lot of work went into those. That was years ago.
Yeah.
I can't even. If I had to guess, 6 years ago, maybe
Something like that. Like
Maybe
probably,
5?
yeah.
5 or 6
You have to
years
understand,
ago.
those were quite
Feels like forever
literally.
ago.
It was hard to. They were an easy lift on our part, right? It would take me not long to write
coming
it.
up with a story. You gotta,
Yeah.
that's got to be. Those are like, oh, if they happen, they happen. You can't force yourself to.
Yeah, if I just sit down and do it, I can come up with a story. I'm pretty confident. Like those other ones, they just kind of wrote themselves. You know what I mean? I just knew what I wanted to do, and they just, as I'm writing, I'm like, oh, that's a good one. You know what I mean? Like that'll be good. That's pretty easy. Voice acting part, it took us an hour to get everything. That's it.
I feel like I'd do a much better job now with the voice.
You did
acting.
great back then, by the way. You did great.
Yeah.
Because your thing was you were uncomfortable and you took direction really, really well. You never were like, no, I don't think we should do it that way. You really trusted the process, which was nice. You know what I mean? And it made you really, really easy to work with. But my point being that we would get that part done. Now the heavy lifting is off to Puka. The animation is really what this is about. And it would take months because it should. It's a very big thing to do. And obviously we're paying him for his time. And when it came down to it, is every single one of those that we released, as much fun as they were, it was it costed us.
Financially, we lost money.
We
on it,
lost
yeah.
money every single
Yeah.
time. And at the bottom line, end of the day, this is a business. This is a business here.
Yeah.
And it takes money to make money. So it was like, well, maybe we do several and they'll catch up. And they just never did. And that's okay. We have to be okay with that. And maybe we'll go back to it
But
later.
we have them now still. And like I said, I feel
Yeah.
like they're timeless. Even though they were
They
maybe
are.
5 years ago or whatever, I feel like people today will still enjoy
They're
them as
good.
much as they would have 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And maybe 10 years from now, they'll still be getting watched here and there.
Yeah. And Puka,
Eventually, we'll make our money back.
Yeah. And Puka used to say, guys, you really should consider releasing the raw audio from the
yeah.
day, like an hour long, just raw audio. I mean, it is really funny stuff, you
Yeah.
know, but it's also, I don't even know if I have it. I don't think
We
have it.
trusted Puka enough with the raw audio. It's not like we doctored anything that we said because we were worried about how Puka would
No,
think
no,
about
we
us
weren't
or
like over the
anything.
top, but it was,
Yeah.
I'm sure we actually, I'm not even sure we got crass. I guess I'm assuming we did.
Oh, I'm sure we did.
Yeah.
That's what we do off camera.
That's true.
Sometimes on camera, and you just have to bleep
I
stuff.
don't do it anymore. No, you don't do it either.
But yeah, Puka's amazing. He did. So I wrote the lore story for my Pixel Pulse Valley, Cyberpunk City, on Hermitcraft Season 10, and I hired a voice actor. You know, I could have voiced it myself, but I thought I wanted to detach my voice from the story for some reason. So I hired a professional voice actor to record it, and then I got that to Puka, and I basically said, Puka, do your thing. I gave him a few little things that I had in mind, but I was like, do your thing. And he animated the whole thing, and it's absolutely amazing.
It's sick, yeah.
I think I put it in episode, I don't remember which one. I think I named it "They Abandoned the City." If anybody's looking for it, it's actually the lore for the Cyberpunk City, so we'll tie everything together when it's all said and done. So, but he did a great job on that. We watched one when we were at the house. He just released an animation. He did very long animation, very
that's right.
very unique storyline to it, very interesting, and just like his just brain works differently
Yeah.
than like everyone I know. It's just he's a brilliant guy. Animation is a really cool thing. And there's the way Puka does it, which I think he uses like something called Blockbench. But then there's more of like the raw animation style where you get more of like the pencil kind of drawings and stuff like that. What do they call that? Like stop motion?
It's more like stop motion.
Yeah.
It's like a frame every 2 or 3 seconds, and
I love
it's not
that
stop
style,
motion
too.
because it's not like claymation where you
Yeah.
do that whole thing. But it's just very. It's like a low refresh, one frame every 2 or 3 seconds. And
I love it. There's like it just adds like there's a different character vibe to it, you know.
There is, but it's got to be, and a lot of the artists out there do that. Now, I'm not going to remember all their names. Obviously, I remember Rusty Courage's name because she's one of the
She's
one of the
captured
tops.
some really fun moments.
Fun moments, but she's captured
Yeah.
them. It's, to me, it's like it's really less about the moment and more about the word capture, because it's the little things that she does with the eyes and the postures, and she does this thing. I don't even know how she does it, but like, so one of my favorites is the one where I'm giving Tango a bunch of static. You and I, we were bashing with Tango, and he was having a hard time. And it starts off with him. He's like, "Hey guys," he's like, I found my first chest. You know, it's got 4 string, and he's just having the rough time. And I just start giving him a bunch of grief. And I'm like, it's his first chest, and he's died like 27 times. He's like, "Shut your face." And so we're like kind of razzing each other or whatever. And I come over, my character comes over, and according to Rusty, okay, I come over and my character, she draws it, so I put my arm around him. And I said, Tango, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but you're pretty bad at this. Okay. And I said that, but then I go, wow. I said, I didn't even like, I didn't like what I just said or whatever. But if you look at what my face does when I say the word wow, like my energy is towards Tango. You're pretty bad at this. And then she has me disengage Tango and look off into space and go, wow. Because she does this thing in my, like, how do you draw somebody's face to get across the fact that they are realizing they did not enjoy the feeling they just had, that they inflicted on themselves? And that's what she did in my face. You're pretty bad at this. Wow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she does. I'm like, I didn't even like what I just said. And she did that with this 1 frame every 2 seconds. How? You know,
Yeah.
like that. That's what Rusty, in my opinion, excels at. And for the record, a lot of the names are eluding me in regards to the many artists out there that do this type of thing and who are very good at it. The names are just eluding me. But
I even butchered Apple's name. Apple
Did
strudel. I think because they go by B and then apple strudel, and I combined it all together. Anyway, it just occurred to me. I'm like, I'm butchering the name of even the artist I have right here. It's probably written right there. Apple strudel. Got it. Okay.
They get it across though. Bel Marzi's another one. That was my artist for my TCG
the
cards.
TCG artists were absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And that was again a collection of artists with different styles.
Yep.
And to see all the cards come out, and then like you see them kind of side by side as Creo announces them, and it's just like, wow, that is so cool. How many different styles there are in the art community, and they're all just so good at it.
Yeah.
It's just so cool to see, and then. Just the fact that you've inspired another artist is we consider ourselves artists, but somehow we've inspired another artist to make art out of our art.
That is
what I mean? Like it's artception. It is like the coolest thing ever. I love seeing it, and I hold them on such high regard because they possess a skill set that I would say I covet, but I only covet because I want to be good at everything.
Me too.
But I can't imagine ever like changing what I do in this life to becoming a digital artist or like I mentioned, it would be fun to remix songs like Ellie, but I couldn't ever see myself getting to that level. So I hold them on high regard. I just find it fascinating that they're so good at what they do, and their brains work and differently than mine, and I respect that, and I think it's just the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Like every time I see fan art of any means, I'm just like, this is so great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Makes you feel like $1 million, man. I think I made the joke either at the panel or during the podcast that we did at TwitchCon at the house. Like there are times now where as I'm doing something, I'm like, boy, I hope Rusty animates this.
Right?
Because it's just too funny, dude.
Yeah, I was thinking that. We just had that moment yesterday with the touch grass, and you were all excited to, you had the new record or whatever, or you were
my
close
new
to,
record.
your new record.
That happened to be one more than yours.
Yeah. You beat my record, the Game Maker, which is a big deal, right? And you come like, I'm going to show you this book, and we go in there, and then I'm like, I'm going to try it. I do it, and then I immediately beat your record, and like that moment, I was thinking like that could be a pretty funny animation if cut up. Yeah. But yeah, I know. I'm with you. Like those moments happening, just like, oh, I hope that was good enough that it gets captured by another
I
artist.
agree with you, because that moment had so many different things. It had high energy. It had great chance. I mean, there is some chance to the game to do well. So the chance played along. It also had a third element known as Gemstone, just as an audience member. Like basically she played the part. She was the voice of the audience. She's like, wow, Impulse, you're a jerk. Like she was like, what a jerk, and it was like, and you're just like giggling. I'm like, you suck, and then she's like, just a calm, what a jerk,
and then I leaned into it. I wasn't even trying.
Yeah, and I'm like, you shut up. It was just like such a good moment, So I'm with you. That I hope.
But yeah, I think that the same way all the time when there's a moment that happens, it's like, I really hope somebody makes something of that.
Yeah,
obviously they have their lives too. We can't expect.
No, come on. I'm just saying. Yeah, we love it, but we love our artists. Some people consider us artists, and I think that's very flattering. I really consider myself as
it's hard to accept, isn't it?
I'm just a goofball.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I think I do have. Who am I as an artist? I honestly, I think my art is the ability to create moments with editing. That's what I think my art is. Now, by the time this episode comes out, hopefully I will have my next Hermitcraft episode coming out, and I have one of my proudest things ever since being on Hermitcraft, and it's like 10 seconds. It's a dream sequence that I'm really proud of the way it came out, and the way I wrap up that dream sequence and how it bleeds into the next moment is really, really fascinating to me. It was an idea I had, and I was like, oh, because Mumbo, we bring him up a lot, and I have huge admiration for Mumbo as an artist because of what I get to enjoy that he creates, but also what I've learned from him, from having him on the podcast.
Yeah.
I've got to tell you, when I say that resonated with me, when he said you have a dumb idea, go see it through, that resonated with me, dude. Like to the point to where this idea, this dream sequence, this is how my brain went through it. Okay. This is the mind of Skizz as my little realm of being an artist. Oh, I know what I want to do. I want to have a bad dream about something I did poorly at. And the bad dream is I'm going to wake up in a jolting fashion, and then I'm going to go take care of it. So in the real world, I don't want to give too many spoilers. So I went through my head on how am I going to do this? And I started to piece it together. And once I started to put it together, I was laughing while I was making it. I'm like, this
That's a good
working.
sign.
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is good. This is good. I did good on this one, man. You know, and it's like that to me. So that's where I'm not a Minecraft artist by any stretch of the imagination. I can't draw to save my life. I can't animate. Actually, I'll argue I almost kind of can. It's kind of animating in this one. You'll
Yeah.
see. I just did it with poses. It's actually pretty cool. But I think I learned I can do that when I did we did Build and Seek, and I did my intro on how to do it, and then you came up and I said, if your friends find you right away, take the high road and congratulate, and then I smack you in the head. Well, if you look when I smack you in the head, my character does a half turn for you that I only kept it for about a tenth of a second before then I did the full smack, and it made it look a little bit more organic. And that's when I learned like there's nuances to this. So I did that with this dream sequence to where I'm like tossing and turning, and I'm doing the arts, like the noises as I'm tossing and turning or whatever. It looks pretty good. You know what I mean? It's not great, but it looks pretty good. So I can create moments editing. That's what my skill set as an artist is.
That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah.
I as much as word art gets a lot of hate, I do have some word art here up in this studio that says make what you love what you make.
Yeah.
And that is what I see every time I walk through the door. I look up at that, and it's a reminder to myself that that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm doing this for. I want to make something that I love, and therefore others will hopefully love it. And it sounds like this sequence that you put together, you leaned into a silly idea, as Mom was suggested, and you obviously made something that you love. If you're laughing at what you made, that means other people will laugh at what you made. I mean, it could be a Jim Carrey thing as well, where there's where we talked about Jim Carrey. My wife didn't necessarily like his style, but a lot of people do, and that is what art is. It's the eye of the beholder. What I mean, situation. So some people might be like, that's cringe, and most people, I'm sure, will, because they're watching you, they've already familiarized themselves with your style, and that's what they are there for. Will love it. So you're creating hopefully a memorable moment. That's what it's all about.
That's what I'm hoping. And
so we are artists.
We are in our own right.
We'll accept it.
I accept it. Kind of.
That fortress video, I still don't know what to call it. Every time I go to refer to it, I was like, defend my castle, but I didn't make a castle. I made Mount Olympus. It's a temple. It's a fort. Anyway, I found myself in that actually starting to feel like I was a bit of an artist, because that was something that I envisioned. You know what I mean? Like I've told you that I've struggled to see things in my head, but there was parts of that process where it's like, it might be happening. Like I'm starting to, yes, I'm getting inspiration from pictures and stuff like that, but I'm still piecing things together in my head to make a vision that I'm building, and because it was in creative, it happened a little faster than I'm used to. And it was like, okay, I'm capable of doing this. And that felt good. That felt good to like push yourself outside of your comfort zone and realize that there might be more talent under the surface than I was willing to admit.
Yeah.
So that was good.
That is good for you. Yeah,
I don't pat myself on the back enough, and it's my new October resolution.
Pat yourself on the back more?
Pat myself on the back more. This was a great podcast, Skizz. We did so good. We did
you did. Isn't that what we're going for? I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna raise you up as well.
Yeah,
I'm making that resolution. You can make a resolution in October, right? You don't have to wait till January.
No, you do not have to wait until January.
The good news is it's a resolution, which means I'll forget about it tomorrow.
My resolution is to get an episode out this week. How's that sound?
That's a good resolution. Yeah. I like that.
I want it out.
You have like 3 months of footage that you need to release.
No.
Yeah.
It's been a month. Okay.
I don't know how long you stuck around to lurk in our streams yesterday, but after you left, we told you to go get your editing done.
Yeah.
After the touch grass stuff.
Yeah, I saw.
And then immediately we were just.
I gave you a word.
We gave you so much crap.
I'm not stalling, dude. I'm not stalling. I started my episode by saying like, I'm just in the woe room, right? In the wall of explanation. And it was like a 9-second clip. I'm like, all right, let's do this. And I just flipped the doors. I'm all bam, bam, bam. I'm all guess the build, cast the video, MCC. I'm out of here. I was like
that's much more concise than my 10-minute diatribe about where I've been. Yeah.
I was like, I'm not gonna overstay my welcome explaining why I've been gone. I just want to let them know I'm not dismissing hermitcraft. That's like not what this is. It's just been a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a few episodes ago. Like, I feel like we're now getting into our second wind, our second part of the season.
Yes.
And it's just yesterday there was a ton of people on just goofing around. I placed 3 blocks in 3 hours during my stream, but it was the most fun I've had on hermitcraft in a while. So you know, it's.
I had the greatest time with you and Jem yesterday, dude. Like the greatest time, just razzing each other and doing the whole touch grass and we're way off topic. We're wrapping up the podcast. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Make sure you're checking out the links because we will put the links to the animated shorts in there.
Oh.
You're going to want to see this.
If you haven't seen them, you got to check them out.
Yeah, trust me.
Even my mom likes them.
Yeah. People who don't even know Minecraft like
exactly.
them. The first one is Inventions. That was us just trying to get our feet wet. Like, what does this even? Do we have something here? Second one, The Hunt. That is the best one. It is. Third one you're gonna like. That's work hard, play hard. You're gonna like it. It's a very It's just a little long winded and not even long winded. It's not long winded like oh my gosh it's been going on forever. It's just long. It does not deserve the title.
It's the longest animated short we've ever.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But
anyway, please check them out.
Yeah, you're gonna like it. So there you have it. We are artists and you are welcome.